Hello, Zayn. I just arrived in Lagos. I was thinking we should have lunch tomorrow. A sharp feminine voice spoke through the phone. It was Yolanda Zoo, the daughter of the wealthy Zoo family. Zayn and Yolanda had been engaged for 2 years, but it was purely a business arrangement set up by their fathers to join their two empires. Zayn had never shown a single bit of interest in her. In fact, he found her annoying. "I am busy," Zayn replied coldly and hung up. He didn't understand why some women couldn't take a hint. He had been forced into this engagement by his father, who told him that love is a gradual process. Well, 2 years had passed, and the only thing that had grown was Zayn's dislike for her. Yolanda stood in her hotel suite, staring at her phone in shock. How dare he hang up on me, she thought. She was a Zoo, and she expected respect. She decided right then that she would storm the Dantata Group headquarters the next day. She wanted a wedding, a home, and children, and she wasn't going to let Zayn deny her that. Meanwhile, Tenny was at home pacing her living room. Her phone rang. It was Dr. Larry. "Tenny, don't be angry, but the boys won't be coming home tonight," Larry said, trying to sound calm. "They are staying over with a friend." Tenny's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean? Put them on the phone. Let me talk to them." "They are already asleep, Tenny. I'll bring them over first thing tomorrow morning," Larry lied. He spent 20 minutes trying to persuade her that Taiwo and Kehinde were in safe hands. When the call ended, Tenny wasn't convinced. She felt a cold shiver down her spine. "Where are my boys?" She called Rosa, but Rosa didn't pick up. Rosa was too guilty to talk to her best friend while the kids were missing. Horrible thoughts began to flood Tenny's mind. Did Segun and Tiwa kidnap them? Did someone find out about the divorce? She started sobbing, her tears hitting her arm. She went into the boys' empty room and touched their pillows, breathing in their scent. She couldn't close her eyes. She stayed awake until 4 a.m., eventually dozing off on the floor of the twins' bedroom. While Tenny was suffering, Zayn was busy playing dad at his villa. He had his assistant Pascal go out late to buy the most expensive silk pajamas for the boys. He even planned to hire a top pediatrician the next day to help design a custom nursery for them. The boys ate a dinner of noodles and were ready for bed. They were staying in a massive guest suite right next to Zayn's room. "Can you tell us a bedtime story?" Kehinde asked, looking up at Zayn with big, hopeful eyes. Zayn froze. Bedtime story? He knew how to run a billion-dollar company, but he didn't know a single fairy tale. Feeling helpless, he called for Mama Didi, his childhood nanny, who now ran his household. She was the only woman besides his mother whom he truly respected. Mama Didi hurried from her quarters, surprised to be called so late. "Master Zayn, is everything all right?" Zayn admitted, looking embarrassed. "I don't know anything about bedtime stories. I need you to help me with my kids." "Kids?" Mama Didi's jaw dropped. Zayn didn't explain. He just led her into the next room. When Mama Didi saw the two adorable boys, the perfect miniature versions of the boys she had raised years ago, she nearly fainted. She looked at Zayn, then back at the boys, and a huge, knowing smile spread across her face. "So," she whispered, her eyes twinkling, "the big boss finally has a woman in his life." The boys stared at Mama Didi. She was sweet and smiling, but she wasn't the person they wanted. "I want my mommy," Kehinde declared, crossing his small arms over his chest and frowning. They had never spent a single night away from Tenny, and the big, empty villa felt strange without her. "I want mommy too," Taiwo added. "I want to hear how the story of the brave hunter and the forest princess ended." Zayn felt like his head was about to explode. Was this how difficult parenting was? He should have just let them go home and pick them up in the morning. But it was too late now, and he didn't want to call Zubi, who was likely busy at a club. "Listen," Zayn said, forcing a stiff smile. "Stories about princesses and hunters are for little girls. I will tell you a story for men and big boys like you." The twins exchanged a look. Big boys? Men? They liked the sound of that. They sat up straight, nodding for him to begin. Zayn looked at Mama Didi for help, but she just shrugged, curious to see what the big boss would come up with. Once upon a time, Zayn began, the jungle had only one king. He paused, sweating. What happened in the jungle? Go on, Kehinde urged, listening with rapt attention. Yes, the king of the jungle was a lion, the biggest one in the world. He had sharp claws that could destroy anything, and whenever he was hungry, he roared like this. Rah! Zayn let out a thunderous, realistic roar. Mama Didi jumped in surprise, but before she could stop him, a high-pitched "Ah!" erupted from the bed. The boys dived under their silk quilts, shaking with fear. Too scary, Daddy, Taiwo muffled from under the covers. Zayn stood up, feeling defeated. He thought he was being manly, but he had just terrified his own sons. He walked out into the living room and sank into the sofa. 20 minutes later, Mama Didi walked out, having calmed them down. Are they asleep? Zayn asked. Yes, Master Zayn. I sang them a nursery rhyme and they drifted off. But honestly, sir, what kind of bedtime story was that? You want them to have nightmares? I couldn't think of anything else, Zayn admitted. He looked at the woman who had practically raised him. Ask me whatever you want, Mama Didi. I know you're curious. Why are you meeting these boys today, Zayn? If you knew you had sons, why weren't you there for them? I didn't know, Zayn explained, crossing his legs. I stumbled upon them today, and the bond was instant. I don't even know who their mother is yet. Well, I know her name, but I haven't met her properly. We did a DNA test tonight. The timing matches a night I spent with a woman 4 years ago. The next morning, Tenny woke up on the floor of the boys' room at 7:40 a.m. She scrambled up, her heart heavy. She rushed to the kitchen to prepare a breakfast of akara and pap for the boys, hoping Larry would pull up at any moment. But Larry didn't answer her calls. He was too busy waiting at the Dantata Group headquarters. Zayn arrived at the office shortly after, holding the hands of Taiwo and Kehinde. The secretaries in the lobby froze. Phones came out instantly as people started snapping pictures. They couldn't believe it. The cold, untouchable Zayn Dantata had children, and they looked exactly like him. Larry stood up when he saw them. The boys broke free and ran to him, hugging his legs. Zayn watched them with a cold, calculating gaze. He realized this man, the doctor, was the key to finding the mother. Hello, Zayn said, extending a hand for a firm handshake. How do you do, Mr. Dantata? Larry replied, smiling. Up close, the resemblance was even more terrifying. There was no doubt these were Zayn's children. Zayn didn't smile back, but his expression softened slightly. He turned to his head secretary. Watch the boys, do not let them go downstairs. Then he looked at Larry. Step into my office. We need to talk.